The go sign.
Welcome to the East Bridgewater School Committee meeting of May 23rd, 2019. And at this time, I take a motion to open the meeting.
So, second.
Moved by Teresa, second by Rob. All in favor?
Aye.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have Margaret Driscoll and Maria Robinson, 7th grade teachers. We're going to go, are they here?
Maria's.
Well, they're going to go first because they're chaperoning dance tonight. And they're going to request approval from the school committee to take an out-of-state trip with grade 7-8 student council students to Canopy Lake Park in Salem, New Hampshire on June 5th, 2019. Welcome.
Maria, we have your packet already. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, unless it's something different than.
I think
but
it's the same.
Yeah. We gave everyone.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Maggie Driscoll is not here, she's at the dance right now, but we just wanted to see if we could get permission to take the student council on a field trip to Canopy Lake Park in Salem, New Hampshire, for the purposes and end of the year celebration for the hard work and dedication that the members of the student council have put forth throughout the year. We have, I'm not sure if you have this, we just have the registration order for Canopy Lake, as well as the bus company. We're taking the Lucini bus company on our field trip. So the plan would be to leave at 7:30 in the morning. We would arrive to Canopy Lake around 9:30 or 9:45, and then buses would be leaving Canopy Lake around 3 to plan to get back to the junior senior high school at 5 o'clock. So it's the 7th grade student council members. We have permission slips out to them that we're hoping to get back if we get approval, and we're estimating about 50 to 60 kids will be going on the trip. We have 5 chaperones already, and if we get 60 or more, we'll have a 6th that's lined up to go. The cost for students is $25 per student for their ticket, and then an additional $10 to help cover some of the bus costs, and the rest will be taken out of the student council account.
Does anybody have any questions? At this time, we'll take a motion to approve the Canopy Lake trip.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Teresa, second by Rob. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Have fun at the dance.
Thank you. I'm sure.
Have fun at the dance.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Mr. Peter Spagone Jr., who's going to update us on the Skylar Spagone Memorial Fund. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I think most people know the Skylar Fund. After 20 years of service in the community, we've decided to shut the program down. We'll still be obviously very active in helping other programs and people like ourselves that have had a tragedy and turned it into something positive. The main reason that we made a decision to move that way is I've been working with Heather Craven and her fund for the last few years now, and they've made great strides in their with their progress and with what they're trying to do. And as a board member, I thought it was a nice way to kind of turn over to another organization that kind of has the same idea, same concept as we have. The timing was right. It's never easy, of course. Skylar, will continue to be in our thoughts and our prayers and a lot of the things that you see around the community that we've been able to do. I wanted to formally bring it to the school committee because that's really where most of our support came from, the schools, and obviously the community. We tried to strive as much as we could to help out the younger children, the ages from 14 down to 1, maybe, wherever the need comes. I thought about sitting here and thanking the people that have been involved over the 20 years, but we'd be here for another 20 years probably. From the first purchase we made, I'll never forget, with Janice Cunningham, who was working with the DARE program at the time. We helped purchase some equipment for their program right up to the last donation that me and Liz talked about this past day or two. It's been a great ride. It's been amazing what the town's been able to do to help myself, my family, and the rest of the board again, do something in a positive light out of something that was so tragic, and I'll always be grateful. I'll continue to work as hard as I can in town, not only in the political area, but also in the charity area, and that's basically what I do for myself and my family, and most importantly for Skylar. Just to put a little perspective on how far we've come and what we've seen over the course of those 20 years, me and Gina came together with a little list. So we saw 5 different superintendents over that period of time. We saw 11 different principals through the school systems, 37 school committee members over that period of time, 10 different major projects that we were involved that incorporated many different people in the community, 67 different organizations that we were involved in, from Kiwanis Club to Lions Club to, like I said, the DARE program all the way through. We reached out and actually helped about 1,300 plus children that needed the help over those years. We also saw through the system what I like to think of that every child that was in the community in some way had a piece of what we did, whether it be enjoying themselves at a playground or at an event that we were able to help sponsor. And of that, we saw close to about 6,000 students over that course of that 20 years. So again, great run. We'll continue to do what we have to do. I want to thank everybody here, and of course anyone that's at home listening or tuning in for all their support. And I couldn't have done any of this without the town of East Bridgewater and the community backing us. So formally, I want to say thank you, and we'll continue working. But as of right now, we think it's a good time to transition over to Heather and help her in her journey as we have done over the course of 20 years.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you for everything.
I know that you would highlight the last superintendent that you worked with.
Yeah. I did. You've been the best.
I was waiting for that. I would have been waiting all night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, we should be thanking you, really.
Yeah, it's like I said, it was just kind of second nature once we got going, because of, like I said, the support that we've had. We're looking at potentially doing one more project. We'll see how that goes. There's a lot of things that are going on in the community and a lot of other events that will come about. But if there's something that comes to mind that we think of, we'll certainly continue to work towards that. But again, I don't want to take any more time. I thank you all, and again, thank the town of East Bridgewater.
Peter, I just wanted to just let everybody know that how easy it was to work with the Skylar Fund. We did have some students that I have been able to help through the Skylar Fund. It's, obviously we have Gina, but I have reached out to Peter several times over the last few years that I've been here, and there was never one time that he said they could not help, that the Skylar Fund would or could not or would not or we cannot at this time, even though that they had done so much with other students or other children in the area. So thank you to your family. We'll miss you as out in front, but I think that we'll see you in the pink tutu as the Cravens will run, I think, and hopefully that run will continue. And I think that the Cravens will take the baton and do a nice job with it. So thank you again on behalf of the school.
Thanks, Liz.
And the schools.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Lisa.
Next up, we have Lisa Varasso with Little Vikings. Welcome. And we have Mr. Russell Dupuy Jr., Bridgewater Savings Bank, Noreen Cahill, and Marielle Hardiman, South Shore Bank, Rosemarie Culp, the Happy Frog. We would love to thank you for all of the generous donations that you've given to the Little Vikings program.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Thank you for having us. On behalf of Little Vikings, this is our 5th year. It's a 5th year celebration. I'm so happy once again to have our sponsors. Rosemarie Culp could not be here tonight from Happy Frog. I need to give her a huge shout out because once again, I just ramble on to her what I'm looking for and what I want and what's in my head, and she somehow puts it on paper and makes my vision come alive in a catalog. And this year, like every year, she's completely outdone herself. So if you haven't seen it yet, this is our 5th year celebration. As many of you know, this is what I'm super passionate about. This is my baby. And Rose, if you're watching, I know she'll probably watch it later. I cannot thank you enough for taking what's in here and putting it here. Who I would also like to thank is South Shore Bank, who this is their 4th year as our sponsor. And we thank you very much on behalf of Little Vikings. And Russ, Bridgewater Savings Bank, this is their 3rd year with us. And it's because of you that several students in need have been able to come to Little Vikings that may not probably be able to. We have hardship families in the district, kids that shouldn't have to witness what kids unfortunately have to go through. So I thank you for that. You're also part in helping us bring the catalogs to the children, as well as supplies and things that go along with the camp. So on behalf of Little Vikings, I thank you all very much.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Yep, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for all the support to Little Vikings. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Williams for a minute because it was her project way back when I began. But right, I mean, you started it and it was homegrown, and you all helped us.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, choosing the right person to take the program and bring it to where it is today. I mean, Lisa is, such a workhorse, and she does not take no.
She does not take no.
But as she said, both banks have been extremely supportive in all of the endeavors, and the program would not be what it is today without the financial support that's been provided. And as Lisa said, your willingness to house the catalogs within the bank, certainly creating conversation amongst the community for students to get involved and stay active throughout the school year. So a great team effort by everybody. So it's truly appreciated.
Thank you. And just a note to parents that are watching, Gina and I met yesterday. We've had a lot of requests this year for parents have called me or emailed me for children that are in 7th and 8th grade. What can I do with my child? They've outgrown Little Vikings and we want to continue them. We don't want them home alone. I get that. They don't want them home for 6 to 8 hours a day playing video games or being unsupervised. So we're working on it. Gina and I brainstormed some ideas yesterday. Obviously, it's too late this year. We're working on something for, I believe, a week, so we're still going to be talking on that. But my goal is to hopefully bring something to East Bridgewater next year and surrounding towns as well for students in 7th and 8th, probably even going into 9th grade if they're interested. So we've got some great ideas going. I think it's going to be huge. If anybody has any suggestions, I'm happy to hear them. Parents have been super vocal about it, super supportive, what they'd like to see, what they think their kids would like to see. Gina, with her 3 boys, have given me some ideas of, things. So I'm on it. I hear you. We're going to bring it, and I'm so excited to bring the next level of Little Vikings that will probably not be called Little Vikings, but we've got a couple of ideas in that too. So stay tuned.
Sounds great.
Just one note, I have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old, and we're very fortunate. We have a lot of options where we can go, and we choose Little Vikings.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's great.
Thank you. Thank you
If they
very
come
much.
home, it's really helped them. I can see their development.
Yeah.
So we pick you.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So thank you very much.
So get ready, South Shore.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And in Bridgewater next year, we got 7th and 8th grade coming, so we're going to need some more help.
Yep, we're ready.
So thank you.
Thank you.
We can't do this without Lisa's push, and she makes the calls, and we know that she doesn't take no, and she's coming down there to see if you do say I'm not here, and she'll find you. But we do appreciate your help. The students benefit from every program that we have. The Little Vikings has been just a tremendous asset for us, and our community partnerships with you. We thank you. We want to continue to be your partner, and please call upon us when we can help you as well. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Lisa.
Have a great weekend.
Oh, yeah, happy Memorial Day.
Thank you.
Poor Ann.
Is there anyone here for public comment? No? Okay, we'll skip that section.
You don't have anything you want to say?
Next up, we have Superintendent's Corner.
Thank you. I'll go very quickly because I know that Dr. Williams and we have Aaron Fisher here, who has 3 little boys at home, wants to get back home and has some great things to show us tonight. We talked about Reed's Collaborative a couple of months ago about we were looking at a new building. I've been on that facilities committee for, I think, 3.5 years now that we've been looking for a new building or try to build a new building. We came in about $36 million. We felt that that would be too much for our partner schools to do. We looked at a building in Middleborough, right up the street. It's the old Traverse Insurance Building. It's on that rotary across from Percy's. We're looking, they've offered us 3 different ways: to lease, lease to rent, or to buy. We have, the facilities committee has given Teresa Craig, the executive director, Dr. Craig, the leeway to go ahead to see what it would be. Right now they want for the whole facility $7 million. We don't need the whole facility because we don't need the back wetlands in the back, but the building is in great shape. We could get all the classrooms that we need, and we need to get those kids out of School Street School, and we need to get them out of the building down that they're in at this time, because the buildings aren't great for the kids that we send. They deserve much better. So I just want to give you an update. If we have more, we'll keep coming. And the building is right down the street. It's sort of like 4 miles away from where where Dr. Craig's office is. So. I did receive a letter of intent to retire from Jerry Quigley effective July 3rd, 2019. We have materials enclosed in there. We wish, I have accepted it. I ask that you accept it with me. I just want to thank Jerry for all of her time and hard work that she has given as an adjustment counselor at Central School. Worked for Gina, Dr. Williams, for many years. We hope that she retires in good health and continues to do well going forward. I did receive letters of resignation from Maria Robinson, 7th grade English teacher, and Jenna Daly, biology teacher, effective June 30th, 2019, and you'll have those materials closed. We wish both of those teachers the best moving out. Both of those teachers have told me that one is moving closer to their home, or both are moving closer to where they live. PCC update, the materials enclosed. We have students that are going to PCC. This summer we had $2,100 in scholarships. The Skylar Spagone was one of those donations. It was $2,100 towards the PCC Advanced Studies Program with tuition assistance. We gave 3 students met the financial criteria to receive the financial aid, and we wish them the best of luck at PCC. But I want to just thank the East Bridgewater Education Association, the Kiwanis Club, the Skylar Spagone Memorial Fund, and Bill and Joan Smith on helping to raise that scholarship for PCC. It's a worthwhile program. I think it's great for the kids, and if it's something else for our kids to do in the summer, then staying home. It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to meet new kids or other students from other area schools, and they do a really nice job at PCC. I went to the Massachusetts Association of Schools Superintendent's President's annual spring meeting last week, and I just wanted to bring up that it was well attended by my colleagues throughout the state. What I really liked was the commissioner came. He spoke for only 10 minutes. And then put superintendents in groups and in roundtables, and we spoke for 45 minutes, and he gave us questions to talk about. We gave him our answers. I really feel very, very fortunate to have a commissioner as a superintendent in the Commonwealth that is listening to superintendents how to change some things. We talked about maybe changing the MCAS format, changing licensure requirements. We have someone like an Aaron Fisher who's here this evening, who's a tremendous 6th grade teacher when I first met her. Classroom, well organized teacher. Kids loved her. Did a great job with the instruction, understood the 6th grade curriculum. However, on the other side, she also has a tremendous technology background, and she's growing this resume. In the licensure right now, we would have to get her licensed in technology for her to teach a class for computers and have her licensure in elementary education. We've talked to the commissioner about this. He's seeing this. We want people to come out from the community that, maybe a banker that wants to teach math or accounting or in a business course. He is looking at that option, and he's going to take it to the board. It's something that we're seeing more and more in our schools. We have people that are teaching chemistry who would be a great robotics teacher. We have someone that's teaching English who could be in biology or teaching about anatomy of animals and botany or talking about these types of things that kids are going to go and get degrees in. So the playing field is open. He was terrific. He listened. He took all of our information. He'll talk to us again, but I think he's listening to the superintendents ask for help and support. So I just wanted to bring that up. The other thing I wanted to bring up is last night I met with 15 students. Dr. Williams and I have been talking about this for some time, and we decided that it's time for us to have a superintendent student advisory board that we could sit down and talk with kids. And so I put it on Facebook. I put it out to the kids. We had 15 students last night. I think it's going to grow. We listened to the kids. We talked about the upcoming new schedule. We talked about AP courses. We talked about senior privileges. We talked about robotics. We talked about we talked about what instruction should look like and how they learn. And they all agreed with Dr. Williams when she says, research will tell you that 25 minutes is about what a brain can take, and then you need a break. And all the kids were, oh yeah, I can take about 25 minutes and I need a break. I need to get up and move around. The greatest part was we had one 9th grader, one 10th grader, 12 11th graders, and one senior. To me, that shows that we have an active 11th grade body, but we also have some kids that said, I'm going to take a chance and come. A 10th grader said, I heard about it. I saw my Twitter. He said he came, bright, young, articulate man. We had a 12th grader who wanted to come and just say, hey, look, this is what my 12th grade looked like. This is how I've been for the last 4 years. These are some things you could keep. These are some things that need to go. But and we also talked about the principal search. We asked them who would like to be on the principal search. Everybody raised their hand. So Dr. Williams.
How many kids are we talking about here? I'm sorry to interrupt.
There was 15 students
15.
last night. We're going to continue to open it up because
Do you think that's the right number of students? Should it be,
it's
5,
an advice. It's just
25, or is it just who's ever interested?
we want as many students to come out.
I'm sure more will go.
I think it'll grow and grow and
they
grow.
start
We
talking
hope,
to
because I want to hear from the students. I'd like to have more 7th and 8th graders.
I was just going to ask that because I didn't
Yeah.
know about it, but
Yeah.
I'll mention it to my.
Yeah, now that we started it, it's all started because we always call in and have lunch with if the kids win a state championship, or this year I called in the drama after the Addams Family because I was never in drama. I wasn't in band. I was on the other side. I was an athlete, and I tell you, going and watching them work out and sing and get involved, it takes just as much time as it does for any other thing. So we called them in, and I have to talk to Mr. Ponte and see if we can get those kids in before the end of school that went to this, I think it's the Eastern.
Semsba? Or what
Is
was
it
the other
Eastern? So, but I'd like to get those students in. But it all stemmed out of that day. I said, maybe we could start it right now. And we had 15 students come. And Delaney Lyons, who was here 2 weeks ago, who reported out, she became the note taker last night, took notes, did a beautiful Excel spreadsheet for Dr. Williams and I, sent it on a Google sheet today, had it all set up, had who was there, check marks. But she was right with it. I got to tell you, and they were every one of the students, 9 through 12 at that meeting last night, were articulate. They want to be part of the solution. They want to be proactive. They listen to us about scheduling. They listen to us about why we do the things we do. They listen to us why I make the decisions that I have to make at times. They asked Dr. Williams great questions about curriculum and why would you do this and why are we doing that, and of course Dr. Williams was great in saying, we look at the data and then we talk to the teachers, but now we're going to open up and start talking to students. I thought it was great, and we look forward to sitting with more of them. I really want to get some 7th and 8th graders though the next time. The next meeting is on June 5th. We pulled it back at an hour because some of the kids are like, there might not be sports at that time, starting to wind down a little bit. So it'll be at 5:30 on June 5th. And I just sat there, I talked a little bit, Gina talked a little bit, and the kids talked a lot, which was great. So that's what we want. We want to hear from students. We want to hear how we're doing and how we can make things better for them. What's our weaknesses, what's our strengths, and strive to those. They asked about calculus. They asked about AP courses. And those were great things. They talked about internships. When are we going to get internships? Dr. Williams talked about that. So I think those are the types of conversations we had. There was nothing being said that was frivolous or that they had no knowledge of, which I thought was great, which we loved. And my last tidbit of information is, as of today, we do think that our lunch prices are going to go up. We still have not heard from the state. So I do not have a price or the letter from the state. Mrs. Vaughn believes we did get a first letter that's saying you're going to have to raise your prices. And what that looks like, I don't know at this time, but I do want people to know we are raising, that could be a dime, 10 cents, or 20 cents.
We're at 285.
Yeah. So it
We
could be.
didn't raise it last year.
No, we did not. I haven't raised it since I've been here. So this could be it, because we do not, we're in a formula, and we have to fit into the formula from the Department of Education and Department of Revenue. So once she finds out where we're at, we'll let you know. There will be, at this time, no increase in bus fees. We're going to keep those the same.
But just real quick, obviously, this has been an issue in the newspapers.
Yes.
lunch shaming, or
Yep.
whatever they're calling
Yes.
it now, and we're not going to be in the newspapers anytime soon.
We've never done that.
No, we don't do that. Matter of fact, when
Not allowed.
when this administration took over, we took off peanut butter or sun butter and jelly off the line. I don't think that is the right way to go. What we did do, though, this year, and which parents need to know, and we'll probably put it in writing in my letter that goes out, students cannot charge outside of lunch if they owe any money at any time. And unfortunately, that's where we're at, because we have,
I think Warwick was like
yeah.
$10,000
Yep.
in the hole on free lunch.
Right.
It's
And
really,
so we either need to look at a different reserve account.
Yeah.
And people, some people send in a couple $100, but we cannot use revolving funds from our student lunch program.
I know something went fluky with school bucks, just
Oh.
so you guys know that, like, I didn't get a little bit, like, mine went in the negative because I never got a low balance notification. I got your letter and it's all taken care of, but I never got usually get the email that says your balance is low and you hit it. And I always just do, like, the maximum is 120, by the way, I just learned that. But so if there are more than you see, it might be because there was something
Yep.
fluky with.
Yeah, we don't send anything out. Mrs. Vaughn checks them, double checks them. Mrs. Lanny in our office goes through them again, then they go back to Deb before anything goes out. They take their time on this. However, some kids are buying lunches and then charging, or charge a lunch, then charge an ice cream, charge a cookie, charge this, and we were allowing it to go. And I would have to say, the ladies who work in the lunchroom work there because they love kids and they want to work, because it's not a high-paying job. And they need to be respected. And there were times that I have been told about that they felt, I don't want to say no to somebody when they come up and say, I'm charging this, and walk away. So we need to do our due diligence as parents and as superintendent of schools and school committee that, hey, listen, these ladies are good people. They're not making the prices. They're not yelling at you. They're just putting it in. So I don't let any charging going on right now. If you owe anything, you can't charge. You get a lunch. And Deb has assured me that, and we've talked about this, we are not going to go to Sun Butter and Jelly. They will remain getting a full lunch. However, we got to think of something going forward because we are over $5,000 threshold at this time. So,
I think that's the right approach.
yeah, so next year we need to think of how do we open up a reserve fund? How are we going to do this? Because we do have some people that can't. We also, I am recommending that every parent next year, regardless of home, stability, finances, fills out the free and reduced lunch form. You're not going to get anything back. No one's going to know about it. But we have people, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles who will not fill out the paperwork. And they could probably be someone that is getting free and reduced lunch. And then we come up and then we end up talking to their, you got you're $140 in the hole. I don't have any money. Well, it's okay. No one is going to know. It doesn't make you a bad person that you do a free and reduced lunch form. Our teachers are going to send them home in the backpacks. Our principals are going to talk about it at open houses, and I'm certainly going to push it more and more. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, and it should not be stigmatized. Our kids need to eat, and they're going to eat, but we can't continue to just do,
Well, and just to, for anybody who feels uncomfortable from the kid's perspective, and my kid doesn't get it, but I know from other families, from the kid perspective, it's no different than if
They don't know.
you don't get free and reduced lunch. You just give them your code, it goes in, and it's done. So,
right.
from a child get lunch, nobody in that cafeteria would
Right.
know that they're on free and reduced. So,
I think the biggest thing is 20 years ago, 15 years ago, it used to come up, bing bong, free,
Yeah, well, that-
bing bong, reduced, bing bong, you're okay.
We had tickets in East Bridgewater. We didn't have sophisticated technology.
I don't remember where you are, Liz.
Yeah, well, Gina had the green ticket. I had a yellow ticket. You had a red ticket. So as we went through line, you got a lunch, I got half a lunch, and you got the Sun Butter because you had a red ticket. Gina. So, but we don't want that to happen to any of our students. And I have to tell you, Deb Vaughn is adamant to anybody who works the register. She doesn't care what it says when it comes up. They get a lunch. Don't stop them. Don't say a word. Just say, oh, it must be a malfunction. We'll figure it out. So please, next year, fill it out, and we'll try to figure something
So that comes through like CAFCA, right? The federal funding that goes through for
Title I.
for lunches.
That's where the free reduced.
So we could do, if there are parents who are reluctant or unable to fill out
No.
the forms, that we could
No.
give them some assistance in doing that. This is what we did at the Weston House Boys and Girls Club.
We try to do that. We send them out. Joanne would probably tell you.
Assist them with filling out the forms. I play a close role with them because it also
The
does
buses.
impact busing. If you are eligible for free and reduced meals, you are eligible for transportation. So we tie those two pieces together, and we have many calls with people that need a little bit of support and help filling out the form, and they get it.
And they do a great job with that. There's no,
I've just seen so many families who are eligible for
Yeah.
benefits that stay away from those benefits because
they're afraid.
of the language barrier, whether it's the red tape barrier.
We have ELL,
We've
we
seen
have
too
ELL
many of
support
that.
services. We have all services, and
You
I
fill them
know.
out in September for the next school year, right?
No. That doesn't come available through the state until July 1 or after. So it kind of falls behind what we're doing with the busing right now.
Right.
So on our form, if you're going to fill out a free and reduced meals packet, there's a check mark, and that person is automatically put into my spreadsheet to assign a bus stop to. So in July 1, when we receive the forms from the state, Deb Vaughn uploads them onto the website, and every communication that's sent out from
So
Deb,
people can start them from July 1 forward? Is that what you're telling me?
yes, it doesn't fall in September, it's July 1.
Then we send them out again in
So we're not
September, right?
scrambling.
Correct,
But since this is attached to busing,
yes,
clearly busing is put in place before the free and reduced lunch.
yes.
Is there any way to reach those parents who indicate they need help with transportation? Because I'm sure some of those parents could be the ones not filling out for free and reduced lunch, or some of those parents, obviously, their kids don't need bus transportation.
We actually implemented that this year.
Okay.
We went through our spreadsheet from last year and sent out emails to people based on, even if they paid and hadn't paid yet this year. Do you plan on paying? We haven't gotten your payment yet. Because unfortunately, we get too many people that pay late, and we can't do that anymore. Those students are going to have to go to an assigned stop. So we're being very proactive in gathering all the data that we can to make sure that it runs smoothly, and it includes reaching out to those families that we feel may
So
qualify.
you can cross-reference.
Yes.
Okay.
And we are looking at different things on some of the open house nights. I've talked to Deb Vaughn about having someone there, maybe from food service, talking about free and reduced. Very difficult, we get it. However, the paperwork will be on the tables. People can come in and just pick it up as a packet. But it's not a stigma. And it's very difficult to get that through, and it's very hard to say, here's a table. Do I go to that table or that? But this table will not only have that, but it'll have Little Vikings, or, before and after care, have a couple other papers. So, and we know that the K through 6 schools already put those papers inside the backpacks most of the time, or through the packets. Am I right, Mrs. Fisher, down at Mitchell School? They put them in, and that Central School goes right in your backpack. Up here, it's a little different, especially for the 7th graders when they're first year. But I think we're getting better at our craft, and we'll just keep sending out notices.
But also, I haven't seen the paperwork in a few years, but I remember the first bunch of years that I saw it. It's kind of overwhelming to navigate.
It is
So
daunting.
I can see how some people, language barrier or not, when you get so much paperwork at the beginning of the year, and I know it's tied to Title I funding, but is there any way to update it into a more simplistic form?
That's a state form.
Yeah, that's what I figured,
That's
but
the problem.
yeah.
We cannot fill it out for them. That's
Yeah,
the
we
issue.
can't fill it out, but is there any way to possibly even, you probably can't because it is a state form, but
We
you can't
can't.
include anything?
We can't manipulate the
We
form
can
at all.
offer our assistance, which we
That's
do.
all? Okay.
At
You
the
do like a little
at Brockton,
instruction template?
There's instructions that come with it. Yeah.
Brockton, Fall River, New Bedford, Springfield, Chelsea. They're 100% free and reduced. They just upload their pre-K through 12 students and their ID numbers. That goes right to the state. They don't have to fill out the paperwork. It's uploaded because it's zero, or they're 100% free and reduced. Schools such as ours that are, we're I think at 22% right now. At 22, anything less than 48%, 40%. I believe
So
it's
their whole district gets free and reduced lunch?
free.
I mean, whatever.
It's all free in Brockton. Everybody gets free lunch because they're over that mark. But
Yes,
That sounds
about
accurate.
right.
yeah, we were a little bit higher. Now we're at 22%.
Yeah, I think it's been creeping up. I think we were at like 19 when I started 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And the principals are terrific. If a parent needs to have some quiet time with the principal or the nurse, and we always talk about this, how to make it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, from a district perspective, it benefits us if there are families that qualify, that they go forward with it, because all of the funding that we're receiving, especially through grants, is dependent upon what our population of free and reduced lunch. And years ago, 20% was enough to get you some substantial funding, and that threshold has, kept rising. So now you have to be at least 50% free reduced in order to be eligible for a majority.
Yeah,
Right.
right. Aaron, you're right. No, I know it is tough.
Every kid is kind of a sore spot.
Oh, we agree. That's why Deb
Don't
doesn't
have
hold
them.
anything
Well, I
back.
mean, no child goes hungry in
I know.
district here.
You want me to do your?
No, I know.
Are you going to do it all from here?
I have to say,
She can do it with her eyes closed.
because I've worked in schools historically, so
Welcome, Mrs. Fisher.
I felt bad for Aaron.
Something new about technology?
Yes.
You will.
Thank you for having me. This is my wrap-up of technology in the classroom at the end of the year. So to give you an idea of like my brain, this is what my brain looks like on a daily basis. Like I am type A and very organized, but I'm always in like 10 different directions. So when I was planning out tonight, I was like, what am I going to show them? I was like, this is my brain right now. So as you know, you can see everything there. You took part in Positive Sign Thursday last school committee meeting. I'll talk a little bit about that, but this is kind of what's on my agenda right now, and I'll go through that. So you're going to see these Post-its in no particular order, because that's how my life is in the schools. So I'm here tonight because I am a member of MassQ, which is Massachusetts Computer Using Educators. It's the state chapter of a national organization called CUE, Computer Using Educators. We have over 1,000 members in the organization, and MassQ reached out last month. One of the board members reached out and asked if I would put my papers in to become a board member of MassQ, and I did, even though I have young children at home, and they accepted me
Crazy
as a
lady.
board.
Crazy lady, Erin.
Yeah, I know. So I will be being welcomed into their board next school committee meeting, which is usually when I'm here. So thank you for letting me come tonight. It's a great organization. We've had a few members of our high school staff and middle school staff also join MassQ, and they'll be going to the end of year MassQ dinner in June. It's really supportive of any educator, from superintendents down to any member of a school community. So we love this organization here in East Bridgewater, and we've really made some good connections. As you know, Tori Cameron from the middle school, she applied for a MassQ grant and was awarded that MassQ grant this past spring of $3,000, which is amazing. And we have members of our staff taking part in a lot of other MassQ opportunities. So it's just a really great organization that helps support classroom teachers that like technology. And then I also joined EBCAM, which I can't say enough about them as well. I'm a board member now with EBCAM, and I love them. I really do. Russ and Zach and Ms. Kerrigan there, they do an amazing job. Sorry, I was thinking of Alexis. They do an amazing job, and they're really at every event. And they've recently started a YouTube channel, so check out EBCAM's YouTube channel, because as we know, as cable becomes a little different, we like to stream, so they're really out covering everything, and it's been a nice opportunity for myself to be on their board as well and really see like how we can connect the school with EBCAM and think of some different projects. So hopefully you'll see a few more projects coming down the road. We recently did the hashtag, the thank you to a teacher video that we did last month and uploaded to EBCAM, and that was really great. Why I teach. So my recent projects with 6, 7, and 8 have been escape rooms. We've been doing some digital breakout escape rooms, which it looks like this, and it's basically a digital escape. And if you think about when you were a child and you would do those neat math puzzles, and you would get a letter that would go into like a clue, and each problem would give you like a letter. That's basically what this is, except it's digital. So the kids go into the different rooms and answer all of these questions digitally, and for every question they get a clue, and the clue unlocks the final room, and it's really cool and fun. Oh, it's so much fun. And so we did them in grades 6, 7, and 8. I made different ones for each grade level. The teachers love them. The kids love them. I have pictures of them all engaged in this. And so next week we're actually doing a workshop after school of how to create digital escape rooms. And that's one of the projects we've been working on that's been a lot of fun. It's just a different way to show curriculum. We actually did it to review for MCAS. So you think like, how is that fun, reviewing for math MCAS? And this is how we did it. And you should have seen the kids like running around, like trying to do these clues and keeping it a secret and solving the puzzle. So it was just a really nice way to review.
Can we do that?
Yeah, I'll put it out. I'll put it out on Twitter, and you can do it anytime. Yeah, I'll send it to you. It is really fun. I have one for 6, 7, and 8.
We'll start you on the 6th one.
You want me to put it on Facebook? I'll send it to Joanne.
You must have too much time.
Anyone can do it, and it's anonymous, so we don't see who's answering what. They're really
I
fun.
can find some things for you to do.
Please.
One of my vehicles to get new ideas out to staff is my blog. I write a blog post every week for staff. It focuses on all different avenues of technology in the classroom. It's Fishin' on a Mission, and I have a lot of the staff here subscribe to it. Those that don't, I just bombard them with emails until they do. And I just send out a lot of different ed tech ideas, and my booking calendars on there as well. That's how teachers can reach me. And it's been a nice resource for myself to make
Can we
sure I
subscribe?
have everything. Yeah, please. Fishin'OnAMission.com. No G. Fishin' on a Mission. And I often will post pictures of kids and teachers that are doing some neat things. Those digital breakouts are on there. So you'll see a lot of what we're doing in the classroom too on this resource. And it's just one way I can reach staff where they choose to subscribe and I'm not forcing myself upon them. And this is what we're doing right now. So at the end of the year, I'm meeting with, at the high school, they call them CPTs, and it's their common planning time. And at the middle school and central school, they call them PLCs, it's their professional learning communities, and I'm meeting with every grade level. Today I met with 7th grade and 3rd grade. Yesterday I met with 8th grade, 4th grade, and 6th grade. So we're having a busy time right now. We're talking about how to close out Google Classrooms and launch our Google Classrooms for next year, some end of year tech projects that we're doing, cleaning up everything for the kids to get them in the right place for next year in terms of their online content. And we're looking at all of our end of year projects, video projects, and we're doing some after school workshops with GoGuardian, which is our student monitoring software for teachers. And we're doing the Google Forms after school workshops for digital breakouts. That's taking place this week and next week. And lastly, if you want to check us out on Twitter or even Instagram, if you look at the hashtag #PositiveSignThursday and also the hashtag #GreatToBeAViking, no spaces, you'll see a lot of the great things that we've been doing, and we've been trying to have this positive message every Thursday that's centered around kids and the teachers around the school. We have a small group of us that are all just become our own little community, and we make these signs every week. And we have one teacher, Beth Barra, down at middle school who's like super great with fonts, and she loves decorating all the fonts. And we take pictures and we tweet them and we retweet them, and schools around the state are involved in this hashtag. So Mashpee, Norton, there's a few others. They all post Positive Sign Thursday, and we all have different messages, but on the last Thursday of the school year, we're all going to have the same message and post, so it's going to be really powerful. It just helps create a positive message in school culture. So it's been a nice thing we've been doing. And that's about it. That's what's going on with technology right now.
See what the end of year message is.
Oh, I'm going to leave it a secret. You're going to have to follow. You're on Twitter. You follow me. You'll have to check it out. It's a good one. And Meg McGovern, who's a teacher up here at the junior senior high school, every week she makes a nice little video with music and shows all the kids. So I encourage you to go check out this week's because it's all videos of the kids. And it's about...
On this Positive Sign Thursday.
Yeah, so the message is about having choice in the classroom and how that benefits them. And they all film video and talk about that. So it's really powerful. Thank you.
Okay, I have one question, one comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll go with the comment first. When we do the open houses, is it possible to add for parents like a brief 10-minute overview of Google Classroom and School Brains and stuff?
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
Because I know for me, this year, Google Classroom was my weak spot because in my daughter's case, and of course the other kids that came up from her classroom, they didn't really use Google Classroom. So I was like, because I'm not a big tech person anyway. So that's my question. I don't know, like 5 or 10 minutes, would that, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe even like an orientation night. When we
That,
have
that's
the
what I'm
7th
thinking.
grade
Maybe open house
orientation,
wasn't the right
9th
word,
grade
but
orientation.
I'd be
wherever
happy to
at
do
some
that.
point, because like I sat with Karen Clifford and she did it for me, because I was there for another reason, so it was great. But I know that for me, that was like a real weak point at the beginning of the year.
Come learn about Google Classroom. I would
Not
absolutely
School
do
Brains,
that.
but Google Classroom definitely. But even School Brains, some parents are like, School Brains, what are you talking about? Or what's my username? I think it's always first initial last name. That's what I tell people. And then, are we doing anything to assess, like we do with maps and things for other things, like the progression of technology, like how our kids are doing with, as we've moved to more technology in the classroom?
In terms of assessing their technological skills,
Well, not assessing their skills, but the impact it's having on their overall grades, performance.
well, I think we've only seen an increase. When I work with particular teachers and tie it to my own SMART goals, I'll work with a teacher and we look at their map data, and then when I get involved, and
So we're using map
usually their
data.
map data will increase with.
So it's
but
maps that
It's
we're
more
using.
about purposeful tech, not just putting technology in
Oh,
the classroom,
well,
but
well,
using
that's
it
more-
in a purposeful
exactly.
manner. So a lot of it is that piece, and many teachers are very responsive. What I can say is, when I go to being in my role and being the only technology integration facilitator in the district, I join a lot of groups, actually through MassQ, that I meet with other technology integration specialists from other districts. And when our district sends anyone, or I go to these meetings and we talk about what we have in place, usually they're pretty awestruck at where we're at, which is always a wonderful opportunity when we bring our staff to conferences like MassQ, because they can't believe how extraordinary what they're doing is in the classroom. And I can say that personally. I won't say where I live. You know where I live. But my own children are in a school system, and I am often texting their teachers and administration of things they can put in place. So, and they do a wonderful job. They absolutely do. But in terms of the technology that's in place and what the teachers here are doing with that technology and how purposeful they are putting it into their curriculum should really be admired and complimented, because they really do an amazing job. I can say that. So I would say our scores and our MAP data and our MCAS data, I would certainly say that our technology integration facilitates in that success.
That was a very big question. Very well answered.
Thank you. Well, I can't say enough about what they do, and the role I get to play in that is really a blessing. I love my job, as you know, so it's really a compliment to our staff.
I think you're doing an outstanding job.
Oh, thank you.
And just one question perhaps. I was talking to a parent of a younger student who will be coming up to the high school. And one of her questions/concerns was, I understand a lot of communication from both administration and different teachers, a lot of is done via Twitter, which it is. There are a lot of teachers who, not necessarily around assignments, but coaches will tweet stuff. And her question was, I don't really let my child have any access to social media, regardless of, what it is, even if it's monitored, what have you. And she also said, well, I don't have a Twitter account. Am I going to be lost as a parent, transitioning with my child transitioning to high school? So perhaps with orientation and the focus and highlighting of, how beneficial technology is being integrated into the classroom, there could also be further introduction, because some parents do come up without any idea of how technology is used differently at the high school versus at the central school and the middle school.
I admit I'm fully one of those parents. Transitioning from middle to high school, I missed a ton this year, just not really knowing the high use of Twitter, because I don't do so.
And from a teacher perspective, from being in the classroom, the reason we use these tools is because it's our quickest way to reach a large audience.
Right, totally.
I think it's
but
great.
Parents don't know that.
Right.
So I do think that's important, like you said, to really.
And there are kids who will miss practices, because teenagers aren't always aware of all of the details anyway. But, a lot of the coaches will communicate about a practice or a game change or something on Twitter. And unless you as a parent are following that, your kids might miss it. So I think it's a great thing, and it's going to continue to be the direction, but maybe more of an introduction to parents as their kids are transitioning up, because it's in the classroom, it's outside of the classroom.
I work off of email and Facebook, which makes me a dinosaur.
Oh, no, I'm with you, Rob. I'm the same
I'm
way.
on
I don't have
Facebook.
any of the other
I'm
things.
on all of it.
All of this.
We know.
And I used to be called technology. I was a smart guy.
Yeah, everywhere.
I was the one who I knew how to use email. And then when Facebook came around, I knew how to use that. And now I use email and Facebook, and I'm a dinosaur. So I think the point.
I think the kids
point is
are
well
mostly
made.
on Instagram and Snapchat.
Yeah.
And then there's another new
Way
one that
ahead
I
of
just heard about that
Fisco.
8th grade's on.
Mrs. Fisher also, at the beginning of the year, does internet safety. That unfortunately never gets the attendance that it needs.
Right, and we did a community tech night last
Right.
year too that centered, that you came
That was
to,
good.
that
That was
centered
good.
around like
Right.
Google Classroom, and we didn't get as well of
a part of
attendance.
the
And I think
Maybe at
that
the beginning of the year.
as much as we go out and try to bring people in, people really need to get connected to the schools, because as you can see, even getting ready for MCAS, Mrs. Fisher went outside the box, thought about it, talked to some of her colleagues, talked to the teachers, and said, what if we made the escape room? What does this look like? To even have those up to show parents, this is what we're using, this is how we're doing, like you said, put it up on Facebook, put it up on Twitter. People need to come out to these events, because we do have parents that don't want to allow their son or daughter to get into a social media, Twitter, Snapchat.
I don't want my kids on them either, I'll be
Right.
very honest.
So, but
Face-
there are
face
ways,
chat.
but
Not at their age, not.
but I know that Mrs. Fisher does talk about ways of overseeing it on the computer, overseeing it on the Xbox game, overseeing it, or Microsoft, or
And Mrs. Burns sent home a great document
Yes.
from Central School about how to monitor it at the lower levels. It was very well done.
so I think
Yeah,
we need.
I'm not opposed to the information.
No.
Like, the kids, it's a reality. The world is a
Right.
social media world, and
But I
they
think,
live in it.
I think we need to get parents out, and I think we need to get them at these events, because Mrs. Fisher she's at MassQ, and she also travels to other schools to help them integrate something that she's doing here in East Bridgewater. She hears something, she brings it back, she works with teachers and kids to do it. We have a lot of wealth of information in this district. Our parents need to get in here and to get into these nights. Internet Safety Night, Community,
Tech night.
Tech Night. We have a lot of open forums. And
I
still-
think adding even announcements about
Yeah.
this up to orientation would
Yes.
increase that. I think some of it comes out after the fact. Orientation, people tend to show up.
And I
So I
think,
think if you at least, we're having a tech night here, or watch for this, watch for that, people may engage a little better.
and I think Mrs. Fisher could start from the back of the room, push a little button, and everybody would jump up and say, now sit down, because I got something to tell you. I think that she could probably bring in everybody just to hold on for another 5 minutes to talk at those, and maybe that's what we do, is get Mrs. Fisher into the orientation.
Big
Open
difference,
house
the
night.
orientation, open houses.
Nobody likes to hear about MCAS data. No one likes to hear about our information nights and school report nights. We try to put that with our budget meetings, but they are as important as a lot of things. But I think that Mrs. Fisher has done such a great job of getting us in touch with technology. So,
Thank you.
do a great job here. Thank you.
So do you. Thank you.
Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.
We have to go over there. Mrs. Fisher, I just looked at Dr. Williams and I said, we have to go over there. We got to punch in, enter, get us in. I go, she's over there. And then we did this.
Probably do it from home.
Yeah.
Well, Zach was saying, don't go sit over there. I'm like, I'm not sitting over there.
I was going to come in with a microfiche and beep.
Microfiche, that's ancient.
Don't get me started.
Go to your little.
Have a good
Thanks, Mrs.
night.
Fisher.
Thank
Thank
you.
Have a great weekend.
It's great.
Oh, there's still work tomorrow.
Next up, we have Dr. Williams. She's going to report on a few things.
Thank you.
This is quick.
It is quick. So the three things that are on the agenda, actually, there's only two that I really have anything to report on. As far as the professional development, I had mentioned to you that the junior senior high school was contemplating piloting a late start for the purposes of professional development, with the option for students to still come to school, engage in some activities here in the first block of the morning, and then roll into their school day after the first block. The time really just got away from us. We couldn't actually find a date that would work with not conflicting with all the other activities and events going on. So we're proposing a new schedule for next year as well. So we felt like doing a pilot this year really wouldn't show us a true picture of what it might look like going forward for next year. So we'll be back in the fall to talk about a potential late start for the junior senior high school and what that would look like. So we'll table that for right now. The other two things in your packet is the Alternative Learning Day, which is commonly known as Blizzard Bags in other districts across the Commonwealth and actually across the United States. So this is a proposal that the Professional Development Academy has put together, just basically giving you an overall view of what an alternative learning day would look like, so that if we're experiencing lots of inclement weather, hurricanes, snowstorms throughout the year, and we find that we're missing a substantial number of school days, this gives us the option to sort of have virtual learning opportunities for the students, for them to do at home, and the day could count towards the 180 days of instruction. So the Academy is also working on what those activities would look like, because we would want to put those out to the families in the early fall, so that everyone had what they needed, either in hard copy or electronically. They know how to access it, so that when the day is called as an alternative learning day, students and parents would know what that student is to work on. So within this document, it talks about the time frames. They would be given a 2-week time frame, because if we lost electricity, students wouldn't be able to access anything electronically that day. Also, if students have questions about the work, they'd have time to follow up with their teacher before the assignments are due. In looking at this, we could never debate the issue that an alternative learning day at home does not compare to a face-to-face learning day in school. However, looking at makeup days coming in middle to late June, they're not so effective either. So although it doesn't take the place of that day that we'd be taking off, it definitely would have more worthwhileness to it, having these activities that contribute to the work that's being done in school, as opposed to those late hot days in June, where it's really not a productive learning opportunity for students at that point. So, if the committee is interested in the possibility of this, what we would do is we would come to you in the early fall with what those would actually look like at each grade level, so that you could see the types of activities and lessons that students would be engaged in. The major theme is social emotional learning. We never really have enough time to cover those opportunities for students during the day, so we felt like these alternative learning days were really an opportunity for students to work on their mental health, and making sure that they have activities that have them engaging with family members, or finding a way to connect with a relative or a friend that they haven't spoken to through letter writing or a video chat. So the lessons wouldn't be typical lessons that you would see during the school day, but certainly valuable opportunities for students to not only engage in learning, but also have opportunities to practice some emotional learning opportunities as well. So like I said, from the state perspective, we would submit our plan to the state, but it really is up to the school committees of each individual community whether they approve of the town accessing these types of days. It would be up to the superintendent which days would be considered just a typical no school day, and we would have to make that up, and which days would be considered alternative learning days. It wouldn't just be automatic that if we have no school, it's an alternative learning day.
Is this document a draft?
So this, at this point in time, this is what we have for the proposal.
So would this be acceptable to DESE?
Yes. So we have mirrored other districts who have received the approval to go forward, Duxbury being one of them that we worked closely with. So the state really doesn't give an opinion on it. It's the individual school committees that will give the go-ahead on that. The state just wants documentation that the district
The minimum number of days have been met.
Right.
I think it's a great idea. I thought the proposal was great.
Duxbury had, just so you know, Duxbury had a day this year. Superintendent Antonucci told us the other day that 97% of the students, they had a 97% participation rate.
Wow.
Yeah, and participation is based on, obviously, the assignments being turned in. It is also counting towards attendance. So if a student doesn't do the work, they're considered absent.
That was going to be one of my questions.
That's right.
Yeah,
And I
that's
see in here, they have 2 weeks to complete within the cancellation date.
Right.
So for those, especially younger kids who are home and perhaps their parents still have to work, they're not going to be tied to have to turn it in the next day. But my another question is, in here, any student with an IEP, it says they'll be monitored, by the service providers to make sure the goals and objectives. So is that something? I mean, obviously that needs to be in place too.
Yes. So obviously, we have people within the district who are not classroom teachers. So it looks a little different from each staff member's perspective what their responsibility is. It will count as a work day, obviously, for staff as well, because they're responsible for putting these assignments out and checking these assignments. So they will be paired up with another staff member who doesn't have a class. So it would be our guidance counselors, our special education teachers, our school psychologists, our nurse. So for our professional staff within the district, they will be responsible for special education teachers. They will be tied to their students with plans along with a classroom teacher.
So there wouldn't be an additional burden falling on the
No, it would just make sure if those, the plans that have been put out need to be altered or adjusted, they will be, so that they align with the IEP goals and objectives.
Do you know, besides Duxbury, any other districts, what other districts do this?
A lot.
Westfield, I think, Springfield.
A lot of the western schools
Yeah.
do it because of the snow.
Yep.
How many days are we talking about here?
So we can put a cap on that as well. I mean, it's up to the district to decide. In Duxbury, they didn't want to lose the glorious snow day and making sure that everybody had just a free day off. So they decided that their first snow day will be a traditional snow day, and then they would go forward. But we could certainly put within our plan that there would be a cap to the number of days. Also, we talked about not using consecutive days, not using too many consecutive days. Say we end up with, 3 days in a row. If a student is really burdened with, how to do an assignment, we don't want them struggling for 3 days on that. So, we can put those parameters in place so that we...
And it did say that in here about the first day not counting.
Well, that's because we know that kids want to go out and play.
Like snow days.
And so do teachers, so do superintendents want to go out and build a snowman. So we need to make sure that we have that time to play.
I also think it's interesting to note that there's the potential cost savings to the district. Obviously, depending on how many days are deemed alternative learning versus a snow day.
Yes.
And then just one last question too. How do we capture, we talked about social emotional, and there are opportunities and there are family bonding opportunities, and you mentioned letter writing, which I love, that's something I do. How do we capture that? How do we measure it? Is there a way to kind of track that? Because it's not just a general assignment.
Right.
It's an absolute benefit, I agree. But is there a way that we're going to quantify it, or are we just looking at it as a kind of an added bonus?
Right. So there
could happen.
Right. So there would be a combination. Certainly there'll be things that would be hard for us to quantify as far as what they've learned from the experience. Certainly teachers would have opportunities to follow up on, a writing assignment or sharing in class, what they learned or what they took away from that assignment. But, our feeling is it's really difficult to quantify social emotional learning standards. However, you see those come to fruition when you see the successes that students are able to have the confidence moving forward with academic assignments, knowing they've built a stable social emotional standard within them. Even we talked about shoveling someone's driveway or doing, a good deed for somebody. And the fact that citizenship is in civics is such a huge piece now of our standards as well. So having personal experiences are certainly going to contribute to students being able to, write better about it and connect with characters and stories about it, knowing that they've lived those experiences themselves.
I would love to see, since we haven't put a community service project goal in place yet, and obviously, see something like that tied to these days. If it's, I don't know what it would be, like shoveling a driveway or writing a letter to a soldier, or, whatever it is. And,
Right.
we could have that as an option too. I think
Yeah.
that's huge. I mean, I actually think that this community, or the kids in this community, are better than a lot of others in civic engagement. But it tends to be the same ones over and over again. And
Yeah,
If
and
we
it certainly
can
gives an
engage that,
opportunity
you know
for
what I
us to
mean, or-
celebrate that as well. You know, having students come back and share what they actually did
Right.
allows us to really celebrate that. This would be a pilot for the first year, and at the end of the first year, we would be surveying students, parents, teachers to just get feedback as to what was the experience like, what were the positive, what were the negatives. So then when we move forward, you know, if we decide to continue it beyond the pilot year, we can, you know, better adjust it so that we're meeting the needs of not only what the teachers are looking for, but what the students got out of it and what the parents saw from home perspective.
I
How
wanted
many
to,
snow days do we have this year? Just one, right?
How many what?
Snow days, one?
Just one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I wanted to ask, on the last page where it says school staff will be available to provide support and assistance up until the due date of the assignment. I was wondering how they would do that.
So because they have the 2 weeks, students could be emailing them, they could see them during school time, after school time. So that would be part of the teacher's responsibility to let the students know how they are to best access them while completing those assignments.
I
Okay.
think we need Mrs. Fisher back here to
And,
talk about
I
Google
talked to-
Classroom.
I checked with MASC and I checked, I don't know, at least 15 or 20 different policy manuals. I could not find any policy on it, there's nothing because
Because
it's
it's
brand
new.
new.
It's brand new.
Right.
It's piloting. We don't know if the commissioner loves it.
I hear that it doesn't,
He might not, but right now it falls on the purview of the school committees.
right?
Listening to Superintendent Antonucci the other day, kids loved it, teachers loved it, 97% effective in his district, and they're getting out on the 14th with us, or they would have been getting out on the 17th going through the weekend. It's a win-win, I think, for the district to do something like this, because you have kids at home who's, like you said, parents are still working, and on the second school day, second snow day, we're going to call it a blizzard bag. Student turns on their computer or goes on and says, "Oh, look, I've got a locked room that I got to get out of." It's fun, it engages them, and they know that school is with them. And their teacher may even have conversation. It may work, it may not work, but right now it's still in. And when other schools around you are using them, it's an opportunity for us to stay engaged with our students on a snow day, for our teachers, our administrators, and across the board.
And truth be told, nothing's done at the end of the year on the makeup days.
No.
They're typically half days.
And they're all ready to leave.
And the kids are, you
Grades
know,
are closed.
yeah.
Right.
So,
I think I know what the recommendation is, and so far I'm on board. I'm just curious to know, are there any alternatives? What else besides, alternative learning days?
We would make up the days at the end of the school year.
It's really,
Yeah.
That's it.
One or the
all
other.
or nothing.
This is all or nothing. This is what somebody
Okay.
came up with, and
And why wouldn't you try? I mean, like, from my perspective, why wouldn't you try it for a year?
Other districts that
Either
have,
works or it doesn't.
right, other districts that have done it, they give, the assignments all up front, and they don't know how many days they're going to end up with before the end of the year. And many districts have reported that they have students that still have completed all the assignments, even though they didn't actually have the
I
days.
might have one of those.
There's some opportunity
One of my
for a
boys.
kid if they decide to
They
complete them.
can, yeah.
Get extra credit or something somehow, some way.
Right.
probably could.
yeah.
I mean, could we build something like that into our policy as well?
Right, we definitely could. If the assignments are there and they don't end up getting used, it's not like they're going to see those same assignments the
Right, and
next year.
especially if the assignment focus is somewhat geared to social emotional and they're a little more fun.
Right.
And kids may do them
Yeah.
if there's,
It even gives the
Credit
teacher the
time.
flexibility that as we get to the end of the year, and we're pretty confident that there's not going to be any cancellations, they could then,
they could assign them if they wanted
assign
to.
some of those.
I think it's a great idea personally.
I propose that we draw up some small policy giving the permission, sorry, go ahead.
Isn't that
I'll
what
just
this
say,
is?
I would take this home, take a look at it,
Yeah.
and then come back
Want to read
with some
Sure, yeah,
recommendations.
because if
That's right, I
there's other things you want us to include in that, then certainly we'll add those in.
Talk about this again.
Yeah.
Should we just email Eugene or if we have anything so that,
Sure. What our plan would be, we wanted to make sure that we had, at least a yellow light, that we would then come back to you with the proposed activities. I didn't
yeah.
want staff to be spending, dedicating time to putting those together if it wasn't something that you were.
I mean, my
interested in.
opinion, it's a complete no-brainer.
I tell you, talking to John the other day, I mean, he couldn't say enough about it. Teachers grabbed it, kids grabbed it, parents loved it.
Yeah.
Because you're doing half days at the end, and we're sort of just holding on.
What do you do, the thing that came to my mind is, what do you do if we have like a blizzard or whatever for I don't know how many days, and then we have no electricity? Not that that ever happens.
That's why
but
they have the
occasionally
2
it
weeks,
does.
though.
True.
Right.
You have 2 weeks to do the assignment.
But if you look at something, and I think Dr. Williams put 5 days in.
Yep.
If you only want it to be 2 days, then it's 2 days. If you want it to be 7 days, it's 7 days. You can't go more than, I mean, you can't do like 10 weeks.
Couldn't you
Right.
gear one assignment towards just a writing of something?
Yeah,
So you
so,
didn't need electricity? Like,
right, so the way we're envisioning
Like by
it is
candlelight?
it would almost be like a bingo board.
Right,
So
exactly.
students still have some choice in it, that the teachers may say, choose one activity from the first column. And so the students see what all the activities are, but at least there's some choice in what they wanted to be able to do. The teacher may narrow that down and say, choose between this one or that one. But we
I mean,
definitely
I
want
personally
students to have
would
some
love to see
choice.
some geared towards
Well,
contact.
of course not,
at the end,
We just need to
or
show
an
that you
art-related
participated
or,
with the
Yep.
like those choice boards. I
Right.
love the choice board.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's really giving students the opportunity, they may want to use an electronic device to do something. They may have more of an artistic bone that they want to, or they may want to videotape themselves doing something. So definitely we'll have some choice to it.
The choice boards.
Yeah, I love the choice boards, and in this case, I think if on a choice board, there could always be, or attempt, because I know it's not always possible with all topics, to build something in that wouldn't require electricity for the kids who just want to do it that day, because in reality, that's a great time to do it if you got no electricity, because
Right.
what else are they going to be doing?
Right.
I love the idea. I think it's,
Good.
Good. We love the idea, too.
I think it's great.
I think yellow
Thank you for
light, I
bringing it
like
up.
that phrase. I think yellow light is the way to go. I think the committee, we all agree that we should move forward.
Absolutely.
And we'll
I'd
plan
approve
to
it right
share.
now.
I was
First
10
thing
years
in the
old
fall.
in the blizzard of '78, and it was I didn't see my teacher or my school for, it was like 2
weeks.
2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks, everybody was out minimum. Some
Let's hope we
longer.
don't ever have that again.
So I'll share with the academy that we'll be moving forward. We'll probably come to you early fall with our proposals, because other districts, it's by Thanksgiving break that they're making sure that everything is in parents' hand.
So we'd look at the committee doing an approval in September. for-
Yeah, probably
for-
first or
For the
second
next
meeting,
school
right?
year, for the
Right.
2019-20 school year.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Great. You're welcome. So the second thing that I wanted to share with you is in the folder, and, certainly I want to give you time to review it on your own. We'll be talking a lot about this, but this is the Panorama platform that I had mentioned to you earlier in the year. So with Panorama, it allows us to take all the data that we collect and house it in one place. So as we have student support meetings, leadership meetings, we can be looking from a district perspective, a school building perspective, a class perspective, or an individual student perspective on how a student is doing. Not only how they're doing academically, on all the grades that are posted in School Brains, but also how they're doing on their MCAS, how they're doing on their DIBELS, how they're doing on their MAPs. For some students, we're using iReady. So we can look at a student's academic success, as well as looking at attendance, looking at behavior, and looking at their social emotional from a survey perspective. So this platform, we have lots of conversations about data and how we use that data to make decisions. But literally, we'd be sitting at meetings sometimes and being like, okay, there's this, and okay, let's pull this, and we're physically pulling data from all different places. Whereas this is just, a screenshot that we're looking at a student, and it color codes. We identify thresholds that would identify if a student's in the green, they're right on track. If they're in the yellow, it's showing that they have some risk in a certain area. If they're in red, it's certainly a student that we should be paying attention to. And it also will show us trends. So on some of the sheets that you see there, you'll see an upward arrow or a downward arrow. So even if a student's still in the green, A downward arrow next to that would show they're still in the green, but they're starting to show a little bit of a downward trend. Or if a student is in the red, but they have an upward arrow, okay, they're still at risk, but we're starting to see some positive movement.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
To that point? Would it flag if those arrows were happening?
So we would actually have to go into the platform to look, but it would highlight for us as trends started to change for
It wouldn't
students.
generate an email or an alert or anything?
No, it would just be something that we have to be looking at in order for us to be able to monitor. We're getting ready, so this first part here is sort of the rollout plan for us. At this point in time, myself, Jennifer McPartland, and our IT department have been mostly involved because we're setting up the infrastructure of, what assessments we want in there, and what are the thresholds to equal green, yellow, and red. And so now that that's pretty much done, we also have developed a survey, and that's in your packet as well. This survey will be going out to all students in grades 3 through 11. It will happen the week after graduation, and this will be our first piece of data to then have some social emotional information about how students feel about the culture and climate in their school, how they feel about the relationships that they've formed with peers and with teachers. And we want this data in here so that we can start the school year having academic data, attendance and behavior data, but most importantly, we can have some social emotional data to see where should we be focusing our efforts and our attention to shift the climate and the culture in each of the buildings.
And how will they get distributed?
So it's electronically through a link that we'll send to every student's Chromebook. The English teachers in the classrooms will actually be the ones to facilitate, okay, click on, go into your email, open this email, click on this link, and complete the survey. And then the students submit, and it automatically will go to the portal, and all the information will be aggregated for individual student, as a grade level, as a school, and as a district. So from our perspective, we can look at as a whole district where our needs are, right down to an individual student.
So this is raw data from the children.
It is.
Students,
All
without
social
parent
emotional
guidance,
data,
teacher guidance, it's just
except for the lower levels. They do not recommend surveying students under grade 3 because they feel like they don't have the maturity and the developmental skills.
exactly what I was getting
Those surveys will be done by the teacher. So the teacher will be answering questions on behalf of a student based on how they behave and react and respond within the classroom.
Could we do something like this for parents as well? To get
Yes, so
feedback?
the platform also has surveys for parents, it
That's
has
what I like.
surveys for teachers, it has surveys for just general community members. So, certainly we're starting with our students first, but as I show you the wellness action plan, at the very end of the school year, part of our outreach, community outreach, will be surveying parents and community members.
And one more question.
Yes.
On for the student survey, is it anonymous?
It's not, because we need to measure how individual students are doing. So it's anonymous in the sense of, us looking at it from a school-wide perspective, but certainly we need to know what the emotional
I don't
state of an
disagree. I'm
individual
just wondering
student
how
is.
you present it to the kids that you'll get honest answers.
But if you read the questions, doing something like this anonymously, there really wouldn't be, I don't think, much of a benefit, especially if there's a significant concern.
I don't disagree. I'm just thinking
I'm sorry,
of a truthful response.
sorry, what was your point? I didn't,
Oh, no, I was just saying, if you read the questions being asked on this survey, if it's done anonymously, for example, I do surveys like this at work all the time, and we have to at least identify ourselves. For example, I have to indicate what my position is at work, how many years I've been there. Like, it's not necessarily my name unless I choose to put it, but it captures a little bit of my demographic. So I'm not a one-year employee answering these questions, because some of them might not be as applicable to someone who's seen a lot of change over 20 years. So you could possibly build something like that, because I think you might also want to capture, I know it's going to be sent to the students' Chromebooks, and they're
Right, so
great.
they're not asked to put any information in, because it's linked to their email.
Right.
When they submit, that's how, so they're not explicitly asked,
Yeah.
who are you?
I think most of these questions, they're questions that they could answer honestly, and it's not like they're asking if do you smoke.
Yeah.
Right, and
I know, but a kid might not want to be honest about their teacher if their grades are on the cusp, or.
But you're not calling out a
Hate the
teacher.
Right,
but,
so it's
you know,
not-
they love the teacher. And,
it's not asking them specifically about any one particular, like, how do you feel about the teacher in this classroom right now?
No, I know,
So-
but I'm just thinking
Right.
like a kid.
Yep.
Or thinking like my anxious kid who will be like, oh my God, the teacher could find out this,
Right.
and then she'll drop me from a B to a C, or, because
So,
so anxious kids think.
right, and there are questions that can be that specific. And, our thought is we're not there yet. I feel that we have more global things to work on before we start
agree.
narrowing it down to, specific things that are happening on a daily basis within the classroom. But those types of questions will be asked and do need to be asked. They'll be more asked as like an exit to that grade level or to that class, so that students may feel a little bit more comfortable answering on their way out.
Right.
As a
Is this
benefit to
something
those students that we're
could
going
be
to have that
used, like,
teacher
for
next.
exit interviews of teachers too?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Could this be used like for an exit interview for a teacher or a retiring teacher, or is this just student driven?
So we're hoping, as part of our educator evaluation, staff members are supposed to self-assess to determine what their learning goals are going to be for the year. So we would be encouraging them to use this information. Teachers will have the ability to put these surveys out to their students whenever they want, and they could use it for their personal growth. So they could take one of the assessments that they give to students as just a way for them to be reflective of their own practice, and then they could create a goal the following year saying, okay, based on the feedback I've received, here's some areas I'm going to target.
But is there a way for us to use this to get, as an administration or as a school committee, to get feedback from teachers? Or is this student driven only?
So would, like a survey for teachers to
Yes.
take? Yes, so there are surveys for teachers
All right,
to
great.
take as well. Yep, and so that's my hope, as we roll this out. The first survey that we're going to have teachers take is going to be more reflective of, how they feel the support is at the building and district level administration, the collaboration amongst colleagues, climate and culture within the building, because just as important as it is to ask students these questions, I think it's, equally important to ask the adults, because, happy adults make for happy children, so.
Pretty general questions.
Well, but reading some of these questions, I can see, there will be outliers, kids who go through and will just put everything all negative or not take the time to read. So what's kind of built into this to kind of extract that so it's not a misrepresented survey? Like how does that work on the back end?
So it will, their thought with working with Panorama is they said, you're going to have to go through this a few times for students, for it to become a norm for
Yep.
students. And, we want to, especially at the upper junior, senior level, we want to get students engaged in this as well. We would like for them to ultimately see their platform, to see areas of needed growth, and hopefully they'll see that by answering as honest as they can, it's going to just be a benefit to them, because
Sure.
we'll be able to improve on things.
And this kind of correlates right with the student advisory. This goes hand
Absolutely.
in hand.
I
So,
was just thinking that.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
yeah.
We're taking bets, I'm going to guess it's going to look like a bell curve.
Probably at least for the first couple years, right? Until everything kind of sorts itself out. And
Thank you. I wanted to go back to one thing, just a point of clarification on the professional development late start.
Yes.
It's just late start in order to have the professional development, correct?
Yes, so during that time frame when students would normally be in their first block, the teachers would be meeting in departments to work on professional development goals, curriculum work most importantly. So we're anticipating that students would still be able to come to school on time, buses would still be coming, but certainly we want to give that option, that if students have the ability to get a ride late to school, they can take advantage of that, and attendance wouldn't be taken until the second block.
And but you're delaying this implementation, right?
We are.
You said tonight, right?
We're not going to pilot it for this year, but we'll move forward next year and come to you with a recommendation for
Okay.
next year.
Thank you.
Gina, just one final question, and I'm just looking obviously at the sample intervention, the student profile and tracking. Is this in any way or any point in time going to be included in school brains, or is this truly just for a teacher administration reference?
Yeah, so it really is a standalone. It wouldn't be infused within School Brains. It will talk to these programs so that the data that's within those programs could all be filtered in through this platform. Because the other question was, can you view an IEP through this? Can you view a 504 through this? And the answer is no. We can note that a student is on an IEP or that they're on a 504. It does allow us to actually physically type in interventions that we've come up with. So if a student goes through child study or has an intervention profile, all those things could be on that platform as well, so that it's still visible when looking at how a student is performing. I'm not familiar enough with it to know, down the road as we get more familiar and comfortable with it, is this something that teachers are going to want to pull up at parent conferences and share with a parent kind of an overall profile?
I'm just looking again at the sample, and it just seems like it captures, to your point, a great deal of perspective, and this is just obviously a comment, but, noting his grades and attendance have slipped considerably in the term. Like, that's an indicator to the teacher, but it's also an indicator to the parent. Well, you had this indicator, because not all parents are as aware or in tune with School Brains.
Right.
But if a parent were to see this, I don't know, I think it could work hand in
And
hand.
I think oftentimes when we're in conversation about discipline issues, sure enough, we go on to School Brains and we see, there's recent, truancy issues, grades are declining. And it's not until, unfortunately, an incident happens that we start to piece all that together. Whereas this, we get that heads up and alert before things, start to go too far.
Yeah, it's more intuitive, yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Next up, I would take a motion to approve the school committee meeting minutes from May 9th, 2019.
So moved. Oh, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
That's right.
We will table that. And I would take a motion to approve the payroll warrant 49PS dated May 15th, 2019.
So moved.
Moved by Teresa,
Second?
second by Rob, all in favor?
Aye.
And I would table, I would make a motion to table this after discussion on approval process for one-time spending from revolving accounts because Gordon and Tim are not here, and I feel like that might be
Gonna say the
something.
same thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Moved
Second?
by Teresa, second by Rob, all in favor?
Aye.
And I would make a motion to table after discussion and distribution of diplomas at graduation.
Why are we tabling it?
Because Robin, not Gordon and Tim aren't here.
We have enough time to table it for graduation from.
Well, that particular one, yes, because it's for future.
Okay, that's why I'm asking the
The
question.
next two we can't table.
I will make that motion then.
Teresa, motion by Teresa, second
Second?
by Rob, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
So the next one we have is a request from a staff member to present her daughter with her diploma at graduation, and that would be the email that's in the packet here. That is, it's the email dated 5/15,
Yeah,
forwarded. Do you see it?
I have that one, I just didn't have this
Ellen,
one.
this one, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Then we have the other thing too.
Courtney Dye.
Yeah.
She would like to have she'd like to present her diploma to her daughter?
Yes.
I would defer to the superintendent's guidance on this. I mean, I know we've talked about we're gonna not allow all these random people giving out diploma. I personally, I thought the teacher email we got was really cool, and I personally would love to see instead of us, a coalition of teachers handing out diplomas, just because they've had so much influence on kids, but I don't know, if we start spreading out to employees and everything else, what kind of precedent are we set? We could have DPW, it could just go, in my opinion, it could just go so far, and graduation's a super important day, and Liz, you've expressed this a lot, and I totally respect how you feel about it, because I do, I think it's an important day. personally, I think the idea of, you know, some key teachers in the class ofs group would be great to hand out diplomas, but, you know, was selected by a vote or something, I don't know. But I think we go down this road, and as much as I get that person's desire to do it, it's just a slippery slope of.
I have two quick thoughts.
Precedent was
If I
already
might-
there. That's
If I might jump in,
curtail it.
I think
Well, that's what we've been trying to do over the last 2 years,
I
right?
think that there's real value in having the institution that you've attended present you with your diploma.
Me too.
I think there's real value in that. And I also think that there's real value in having families and people that you love who helped you get there celebrate. But there are many, many ways you can celebrate. And there's
Right.
only one way that the institution that you've attended can bestow.
It's the institution bestowing.
Sorry, there's only one way that the institution can bestow that validation, that certification, that graduation. And there are many, many ways that families can celebrate together.
And Liz,
So
you've been doing this for a couple of years.
I'm sorry. I think that, I lean towards letting the schools do it. I'm not trying to be unemotional about it, 'cause I understand the value, but
I would agree with the points, I mean, both that Rob and Trace have made. I mean, obviously, Courtney is a very involved, you know, she's done a lot in the school community. Her mom's, you know, an employee in the district. However, I do think we have to look at precedents. And I think if you were to survey parents, if you asked, would you like to hand your kid their diploma? Most parents would say, sure, I'd like to do that. You know, there might be a few that might say no, but
I'd rather,
you know,
I'd rather
I
have it
just-
get from the principal.
I think it also does, to some extent, take away from the importance and the credibility of the institution giving the diploma on an academic level.
I think it's.
There are two most important days in a child's life, in a family's life. The day they are dropped off for kindergarten to another man or woman that they've never seen, that is not their mother or their father. And for the next 13 years, they stay with people that they don't know each year, moving forward without their mother and father. And then the last day of school or the graduation day is conferred by the building principal, who says that their teachers did the work because she or he held them accountable for the work and the instruction that was given to the child. The superintendent holds the principal accountable that the students received the education that they needed to be a productive member of society and has gained the right to attend life, which is either 2-year community or going out to the workforce or staying home to be a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad. The school committee is a governing body of the school district who creates the policy, the graduation requirements, and all policies that come underneath that with discipline code handbooks, course offerings, and the fiduciary support for the superintendent to move the district forward. When we continue to move out of our lane and allow others in, it takes away from the most important step that students are taking. Dr. Williams would tell you, and Kate Byrne would tell you, that day for teachers and mothers and fathers of kindergarten is so emotional, it is so overwhelming and consuming on both the kindergarten teacher, the building principal, and the parent. The same holds true here at the high school, over at the Mitchell School, that when they make the step-up day. It needs to be held in the highest degree possible that we can and uphold it with the stature and of what it's about. Dr. Williams was conferred with her doctorate by the dean and the president of Northeastern University, because those are the people who conferred and said yes, and her professor was up there, but did not, shook her hand, and the dean of the College of Education. I received a CAGS, the president of the college, the dean, and your professor who confers you. Nobody else goes up there because it's an institution. We're a public institution. I would love every parent to come down as we gave their child their degree. Today, we had 2 assemblies for the kindergarten. Parents came in and took their children home, went out for a breakfast, go places after this. It's an important day.
There are many ways to celebrate.
And there's many ways to celebrate. And Mrs. Byrne doesn't say, everybody come on up. If anybody was there at the morning or afternoon, and Dr. Williams was there for, I don't know, 12 years of her life doing it. Hold on. John Smith, Kelly Smith, Tina Smith, Joe Smith, please come to the back, because we still are safety. The day we let them go over here, they just take off. They do their thing. This is important. It's important to me to keep this at the highest and nth degree. A teacher to be out on the floor, I see it. If our teachers are all welcome. Dr. Williams and I will be inviting the entire district this year, pre-K through 12, to march with us. Because it's not just 9 through 12 where these kids went through. It's pre-K through 12, and we saw Debbie Cowan out there. We saw Dr. Williams' teacher out there a couple weeks ago on the teacher signing, which was tremendous. A teacher, yes. To be out to be out there, yes. A former school committee member who takes a beating, who goes out and applies and works around and goes for votes and tries to become on a committee, who can take a beating daily on Facebook and social media to stand up for what is right, deserves the right to confer the diploma for our students. I'm not trying to say that anybody takes away. I'm not taking your son or daughter away from you. Please don't take what we do very seriously every day. Every day, these teachers take it seriously. I take it very seriously. Dr. Williams takes it extremely serious.
Just my 2 cents, I, as a school committee member who's going to benefit from this right or the privilege, I'd rather have my children receive their diploma from the institution than from me.
And that is you.
That's what I would do, because I want them to experience it. I want them to have it. Like I said, I don't mean to sound unemotional about it. I want them to receive the benefits from the institution from which they excelled, exceeded. That's my 2 cents. So I'm not sure if we're ready to vote or.
I heard Teresa say she was ready to make a motion.
I would make a motion to limit it, and to deny this request. We're waiting on the policy till everybody's here, correct? But I would make a motion to deny this
That we
request.
probably need to draw up a policy or something.
Yeah.
We talked about that the last meeting.
I would advise.
So motion to deny their request?
Mhm.
Motion by, so moved.
So moved.
Sorry,
It's going to be unpopular. I'll go to second.
I asked for the motion and you say so moved.
I'll take the second. I'll take the beating on Facebook, too.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With regret.
And now we're on to the next request by a student who happened to be at the
Teacher.
step-up.
Future teacher signing day.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Trish.
You're welcome.
Is that not on the agenda? Am I
It
missing?
is on the agenda. It's, after discussion, the request from the graduating student to have Mrs. Principi present her with her diploma at graduation.
I just don't see it on my agenda. I read the email.
Oh,
Mrs. Moss, there was a separate agenda that should have been in your packet.
I didn't get it.
She's,
No biggie, I'm fine. I don't
be
need
out.
it. I just,
The line item's right there.
no, I'm fine
I got-
with it. I just didn't, if I was missing something.
yeah, no, you didn't. Barbara, you just didn't get those in your.
That's fine.
Okay. You picked your packet up before she could swap it out.
No biggie. I just didn't know if I was missing something.
But you should have the materials.
No, I do. That's, I just didn't know we were voting on it, that's all. You know, I just said, and I'll say again, I think teachers add value. I think they're part of the institution, and I have no issue with a teacher, especially.
I was
for a
very
requested
moved
student.
reading this.
Oh, unbelievable, and I bet there are a million kids who would write that, where I think as part of our policy, we do need to consider teachers in the mix, but in this case, I would make a motion to approve. In my 4+ years here, it's the first time I've seen that, and it was really touching, and I bet the teacher is like over the moon.
Well, Kylie took the time to write
Yeah.
this, and she didn't just present a request, she presented a very supported request. And
She was very persuasive.
yeah, and the teachers are an extension of the institution. They're what make up the institution.
And it came
in
from
part.
the student, not the teacher or the parent, which I think makes it that much more special.
And we just don't know if the teacher actually can, but we can approve it, and we just, if the teacher can do it, she can do it.
We can't, I would like to change the language and the way that we talk about this, because the mom who wrote the letter asking on behalf of her daughter also adds value.
That was.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
She's a
But
staff
also
member.
adds value and is also a staff member.
Correct.
We're talking about a general guidelines, a rule of thumb that we're going to go by. I don't want to say that we're going to approve one and disapprove the other, because one has value and one doesn't.
No.
Right.
It's a
No, but I
teacher in
think-
the school, an educator. I think that's the
understand that.
difference.
I'm actually going to vote. I
Yeah.
voted to say no to the first one. I'm going to vote in favor of the second one, but it's not because of who adds value.
Oh, no, it's not about
No.
value, it's about a parent versus somebody who had a role in the education of the student.
They were both very compelling, well-written requests. I absolutely agree. And you're right, we don't want that lost in this
I don't want that to
discussion.
be lost.
No, absolutely not. It's just from the perspective of a precedence, when you start to look at
Again,
who's
I said that I was
deferring.
going to vote for,
Yeah.
I voted against.
But just so the parents or anyone listening
I
hears,
want to make sure that the language that what we're
Yes.
voting on is not because one has value and
Oh, no, not at
doesn't.
all.
Is that we have this general guideline that we want to uphold, because we don't want it to be the slippery slope.
Right, we'd have people, I mean,
But it's not about value.
no, but we could have 200+
Teresa, I'm going to vote.
employees. No, I'm just saying, but we could have 200 employees asking to present their kid's
Right.
diploma
That's what I said, the slippery slope.
versus a random teacher.
And I'm going to vote in favor, but it's not a random teacher.
I would take a
I just
motion.
think we need to be kind in the way that we word.
I think
this.
you said it all.
Thank you.
You made a good point, and
Get out of it.
concurred and I concur.
I totally,
I'm done.
I would take a motion at this time to approve Ms. Principe, if she is able, to present Kylie Thompson with her diploma.
so moved.
Second.
Graduation day. Moved by Teresa,
Teresa.
second by Rob. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And if the superintendent or Dr. Williams don't have anything else, I would like to wish everyone a happy, healthy, and safe Memorial Day weekend, and I would like to thank all who have served this country. And at this time, I would take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Can we just, before we make the motion, just remind people that the Memorial Day events will be at the Town Common Monday at 10 a.m., weather permitting.
Thanks, Teresa, you just did that.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
Thank you, I forgot that.
I know, I did too. I would take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Teresa,
second.
second by Trista, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Long weekend, everybody.